Hello again, everyone. Welcome back.
Yes, we're back.
Thank you for those of you who were here earlier. Okay, whether you are meh or not, hello, Fulcrum. Uh, Blossom and Terry, hi. Thanks for joining us again. Um, Thank you if you joined us a little earlier. Thank you for coming back, or maybe you just saw Galactic Starcruiser pop up in your Facebook or Twitter feed and clicked on the link. We are going to be talking all about Galactic Starcruiser, everything you possibly want to know about the experience with someone who has been there for the full experience. Pardon me. And see, we've got almost 20 people, so why don't we just jump right into it and just do this, shall we?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special bonus episode of the Attractions Podcast, sponsored by Destinations with Character Travel. I am Seth.
I'm Carly.
And we are here with our friend and boss, our publisher, Matt, to talk to you about Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. So, Matt, what have you been up to this week?
I've been nonstop busy. I went on the Starcruiser Monday, got off on Wednesday, and been editing videos and writing stories ever since, and still have more to come. So
awesome. Well, Matt was one of the lucky members of the media to get the full 2-night, 3-day experience at the Starcruiser. Embargo just lifted yesterday. You can find amazing content on attractionsmagazine.com and at youtube.com, attractionsmagazine. But he is here to give us the inside scoop. So before we get into all of that great information, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor.
Here at Destinations with Character Travel, we offer the best experience with your travels. Need to visit the thrilling Disneyland Resort, Walt Disney World? Maybe lounge about on a Disney cruise or any other major cruise line? No problem. So if you're looking for a stress and hassle-free vacation, visit us at www.destinationswithcharacter.com. Contact us today and let us plan a magical vacation for you and your family.
It's time for the main attraction!
All right, without any further ado, let's head into a galaxy far, far away, and we are going to walk you through the entire Galactic Starcruiser experience from start to finish. So let's talk about it from the very start. Let's talk about the boarding and the arriving process. What is it like? What kicks off your Starcruiser experience?
well, the hotel, the Starcruiser, the port, the transportation port is right behind Hollywood Studios. So you kind of going backstage. They got a couple new signs up that take you there, and it's almost like you're going backstage where the cast members go. But you veer off after you turn off, and you pull up to this area, which is a huge stone entry port, like any other entry port with a cover. You pull your car up.
Kind of a big concrete bunker. Almost.
Yeah, you have to valet. And then once you give them your luggage and they take it away and you check in, you get a magic band, a special white magic band with some symbols on it. And then you are next heading to the elevator.
Yes, and before we go any further, if you hadn't figured it out right now, spoiler alert, we are going to be spoiling a lot of things. If you want to keep the magic until you experience this yourself, you might want to stick your fingers in your ears, because we're gonna talk about what happens and how it's done. So be prepared. All right. You've had your warning.
And I definitely recommend, if you are planning on going, don't listen to this. The article, my review at the very end, I talk about is it worth the price? If you're thinking about going, you can get my thoughts on it. But skip all the rest because it is full of spoilers.
But if you're the kind of person who wants to know what's going to happen before you put down $4,000 or $5,000,
yeah,
or you are never ever going to be able to afford to do it and want to live vicariously, buckle up because we're going on the ride. All right, so talk to us about the voyage to the Halcyon, the launch pod that takes you up to the ship.
Yeah, and we'll have spoilers not only for the story but some behind the scenes stuff on how they really do it. And this is one because you're actually entering an elevator that takes you up to the next floor. But in story, you're getting on a launch pod going from the back of Hollywood Studios up into space, and you can see. If you're looking at their video version, you can see there's some windows, small windows at the top of the elevator that are actually, screens that will show you flying up into space and docking with the Halcyon, which is the name of the Starcruiser you're going to be on.
So I guess my first.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh. Was it just your
party? Go ahead.
Yeah.
No. You're mixed with you're mixed with other guests. We just happened to be with a couple other people. When we came back, we were with Ashley Eckstein coming back to Earth, so that was kind of cool.
It's a really funny video. You got to watch that because it's kind of funny what happens when she goes to push the button to go back. But I'm looking at these pictures and these videos, and I feel like maybe a video doesn't do it justice. How would you compare this experience to either the Space 220 elevator or the old hydrolator at Living Seas?
I would say Space 220 elevator is a lot cooler than this.
Yeah.
This is themed out, and but the screens are so tiny at the top that it doesn't compare to the huge screens that you see on Space 220. So I guess it'd be closer to the hydrolator, and that there isn't too much to see the windows are kind of slanted too. So if you're tall, I had to bend down to see out the.
It does seem like a strange angle.
Yeah. So
all right, so we've made it up.
That takes an elevator ride, so it takes 30 seconds or something like a minute to go up. We did see a safety video before we got to this point. Mark Daniel hosts it, and it kind of tells you what some emergency things that they want to give you the information that's out of story before you get actually up there. So they tell you there's story elements that you'll see red lights flash in the atrium, and it's not a real emergency. They said if it's a real emergency, all the house lights will come on. And that's how you know the difference.
Yes, when the actors drop character, it's for real.
Yeah, and there's also in your cabin, there are no windows. Your window is a view out to space, which is a screen. So there's an emergency door in your cabin that you can pull open. And I think on the other side of that is a door or a window that the fire department could come in and break out if you needed to get out of the room if the hallway was on fire, for example.
Wow. Well, hopefully no one has to test that one.
So they give you all that information before you get in the launch pod. Just because they want to once you're in that launch pod, you're fully in story until you come back down it.
Wow. So before we actually get into the ship itself, you had mentioned a Datapad and a data band. What are those all about?
The data band is essentially your magic band. Once you're on board, they don't call it magic band anymore. They call it the data band. And the pad is actually an iPhone. Now with our trip, they gave us iPhones to use, and it's essentially just an iPhone with the Play Disney app on it.
But you'll be able to use your own if you bring.
Yeah, for some reason it just wasn't working completely. I checked my own, and I could still see a lot of the same things. But I noticed like there was photos of the characters that wasn't showing up on my phone that were in their app. They said they hope to eventually you'll just use your app, and you won't.
Maybe they have a beta test flight version of the app that hasn't migrated to the official app store.
Yeah, could be. And
That's,
and
that makes sense.
the thing that I saw in the app was the character photos. So you're seeing a photo of somebody that's your ship's captain or the guitarist that you meet on board or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the actual actor's photo. Because I know I've seen other trips and it's different actors. They
And
look different.
it changed
So
it based on whoever the
yeah,
actual performer is instead of just being a generic picture. That's really
correct.
cool. That's some attention to detail.
Yeah.
We can touch on this a little bit later, but if you are the kind of person who does not like looking at your cell phone during a vacation, what does that mean for you in this experience?
You're going to miss out on a lot. They
Hmm.
have kiosks you can go to and check your schedule and interact a little bit, but they kind of refer you back to the pad. So you need to go on the pad and you'll get messages from the characters. Oh, can you go check on this for me? And if you don't use it, I mean, you can go on board, of course, and not do any of this stuff. You can just enjoy it and watch everybody else, but you're
Hmm.
missing out on a lot. And if you're paying that much, I think you'd want to experience it all. I'm sure there'll be some grandmas or whatever. They're just bringing their grandkids and they don't want to do any of it, and want to stay in the room half the time. That's up to them. They can.
Well, I think there's an activity for the grandmas a little we're going to talk about a little
Yeah.
later. Um, but so now we've made it onto the ship. We're in the lobby atrium, which is kind of the heart of the interior of the ship. Describe a little bit about what that was like your first exploration.
It's a great reveal when you come off the launch pod. So the cast members were there lined with red carpet welcoming people onto the ship. The atrium is large, very spacious, but it's not large like the Grand Floridian lobby because it's
Hmm.
only 2 floors.
Hmm.
The second floor is reserved for basically the show. The characters go up there to speak down to the passengers.
Hmm.
And then on one side of the lobby, you have the gift shop, and you have an area that's kind of like the front desk where you can get grab and go items sometimes
Hmm.
of the day. And the other side has the lounge, the Sublight Lounge, I believe it's called. And then on one side is the bridge too.
So, as someone who has done a lot of kind of interactive attractions, how'd you feel that the crowd flow and the sight lines worked? I personally seeing some videos, I noticed that depending on where you're standing in the atrium, you might miss some crucial things that are happening up on these balconies up above you. Did you feel like that?
Yeah, I didn't miss anything above me because that was
Uh-huh.
pretty easy to see, but some of the characters would be down on the ground, and it did
Mm.
get quite crowded, and that's
Hmm.
another worry for COVID as well. It was pretty crowded in that atrium when something was happening, and each night it culminates with something happening in that atrium. So uh there was a little bit of, but the people on the ground weren't the main focus, so it wasn't a big deal if you couldn't see them.
But you
So,
were also
yeah.
running under the capacity of what it was, right? I think you guys only had 300 something people aboard.
I'm not sure. I heard somebody say that we were at 70-80% capacity. There's only 100 rooms on the ship, so um, I don't know. Yeah, I've heard that we were, like I say, 70-80. I don't know if that's true or not. The lobby seemed crowded at times, but not crazy.
So, take us inside the room. What are the accommodations like? How would you compare them to, say, a Disney Cruise Line cabin or a room in a Disney hotel?
I'd say a little larger than a cruise line standard cabin, but
Mm-hmm.
smaller than like a room at the Grand Floridian
Okay.
standard. Had all the amenities you could want. Had a small refrigerator, had a huge safe, closet space under the bed for your luggage. The bathrooms were much larger than you'd find on a regular cruise ship. Not as large again, probably as the Grand Floridian, but not bad. The shower was pretty large. And then you had a queen bed, which was really comfortable. And then you had 2 bunk beds that look small, but they're actually not. We had our reporter, media manager Theron with us, and
Mm-hmm.
he's 6'2", and he could lay down, and his feet just barely were touching the wall.
I'm trying to find that photo. I know that one of our articles we posted a
Yeah, it might
picture
be
of that.
the frequently asked questions article. It might
All
have been
right,
in
I'm
there.
gonna see if I can pop that up while you're talking.
And then
What did you think about the luggage space?
it was pretty good. It was, and we have that question in our frequent asked questions for people who may be going to the theme parks and staying a month or something and have tons of luggage. They will probably work with you and help you store some of it if you don't need it all in your room. But there's a lot of space under the. We fit, I think, 3 carry-on type suitcases under the bed. So I'm not sure how much you could get under there exactly.
Yeah, I'd say that if you're just coming for this 2-night experience, you probably shouldn't have trouble. But if you're tacking this on to a 14 days in the parks, and then you might have to have somewhere to stow your luggage.
Especially if you could fit up to 5 people in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, there's the queen bed, the 2 bunk beds, and then there's a pull down bed on the wall. You can see it right there on the left, and that one is smaller. So Theron's feet were hanging off when he laid down on that one. And then in the back of the room, you can see the viewport there, and it has all those lights around it.
Okay, so let's talk about this. I think a lot of people were very interested. This is your viewport. You do not get an actual window out into reality. You get a window out into fake space. How did it look? How would you compare it to like those digital viewports on the Disney cruise ships, or some of the things we see in the attractions?
I'd say it was probably not as high resolution as the ones on the cruise ships. It was more like the windows that you look out when you're in the line for Space Mountain, and that they're
the kind of warped.
kind of warped in 3D. And when you turn your head one way, you can see in a photo, if you're looking at our video version, there's kind of light trails coming off all the bright objects.
So I gotta say, what this reminds me of, having not seen it up close in person, it reminds me of the Fresnel lenses that they have in the Quest VR headsets. You get a similar thing where when you have a very dark background and a very bright object, where they call it God rays, where you see kind of streaks of light. It looks like it might be a Fresnel magnifying kind of window that takes a smaller video screen and kind of stretches it to make it look more 3D.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. And then around the window are some regular lights that just light up, and little buttons and things. And so when you turn all the lights off in your room but leave that on, it's still pretty bright in your room.
Okay.
But there is a button there to close the shade, and the shade goes down in front of the window, and all the lights around it go off, and then your room is almost completely black. So you need to remember to set an alarm clock, because you could really sleep all day.
Well, speaking of an alarm, one of the features is the room is a digital assistant in the form of a droid that you can talk to, and it can hear you. It can't see you. Says there's no cameras in the room, but that kind of could serve to do things like help set an alarm for you. You can get story information. No,
Nope.
can't help you with that. Oh, you would think of all the things that would be the one thing it'd be perfect for, right?
Yeah, when we
Okay.
heard about the droid in the room, we thought the same thing. It's like an Alexa or something, but it's more story based than anything.
Okay.
And you push a button, she comes up on the screen, and it's more about her asking you questions than you asking her questions.
Interesting.
So she'll be like, "Oh, did you go to dinner? And did you happen to see Captain so and so?" And it's really neat. It's really interactive, and it'll ask you open-ended questions, and it'll pick up on words that you say and repeat them back. Oh, you like the bantha meat at dinner or whatever.
And I saw how it'll even remember and kind of recap your experience towards the end of the trip. So that's neat. Well, I'm getting hungry. So let's head into the Crown of Corellia dining room, and let's talk a little about the food.
Yeah, that's the dining room is pretty spacious. You'll have every meal in this space. Breakfast and lunch are buffet, and dinner is table service. All the food was excellent. Nothing was badly prepared. It's all it looks Star Wars food. They use colors and shapes and combinations to really make it seem like it's otherworldly. But
Mhm.
it all tastes really good. And sometimes you get a combination of something that you wouldn't think of, like a granola bar with pumpkin soup. It's not, and it's not called that, of course.
Hmm.
But it was really good. So we really enjoyed all of the food.
Did you have a
Um,
favorite?
Have a favorite?
Yeah, meal or
Yeah,
something
my
else?
favorites shows how much of a kid I am. For lunch, they had these balls, and they were green, but when you bit into them, it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that was
ah,
one of my favorites.
that's
And then
fun.
the soup that I just mentioned was also really good as well.
Why I know the one thing that has everyone talking is the blue shrimp. So tell me flavor, texture, what's up with the blue shrimp?
I can't tell you that because I don't eat shrimp. But but Jackie and my wife was with me, and Theron both do like shrimp, and they both said they tasted wonderful. And then I don't think it had any kind of different texture. It was just
Mhm.
different coloring.
All right, I got a few quick hit questions about the food. You mentioned a buffet. Is this kind of the communal buffet with people all reaching their utensils into a big bowl, or is everything
No,
individually plated?
it's you actually go into a different room in the back of the restaurant, and it's kind of like a little cafeteria where they have the food all set out, and you
Good.
grab everything's in small plates at lunch and breakfast, and you grab, and the tray is kind of neat. It has little compartments, and the food the dishes fit exactly in the compartments.
Neat.
But
Almost
but
like a little bento box.
yeah, sort of.
Fun.
And so yeah, you go in there and grab whatever you want, as much as you want. And dinner is also, even though it's table service, you can ask for more, and it's all that you want. So just like on a cruise ship,
Awesome.
the dinner you don't really pick from a menu; they bring out a set menu. But if you are allergic to something or you don't like something, you're vegetarian, they will give you different options if let them know ahead of time.
So if you're a picky kid or a vegan or something, are you going to go hungry, or they have options to pretty much cover the gamut of
Well,
tastes?
like I said, one of the things at lunch was that I liked was the peanut
Mhm.
butter and jelly
Mhm.
sandwich. They also have I think it's a grilled cheese, but the way they stamp it, like with bubbles, it looks like it's a
Yeah.
bubble bread, and it's just essentially a grilled cheese, and it comes with a side of tomato soup. So yeah, there's definitely uh, foods that are not exotic that just look exotic.
And if it's in between meal times, I know when I'm on a cruise, I'm snacking all the time, until midnight. Are there places that you can get food outside of the main meal times?
There is in the lobby. There's a grab and go area where they'll have little snacks, it's candy and popcorn and different things that you can grab like that. And then in the mornings, if you don't want to go to the breakfast buffet in the lounge, they set up a coffee station with
Nice.
different foods and little boxes full of foods as well.
And all of that is included with your
Yeah,
fare.
everything's included. Everything I'm going to talk about is included. The only thing I had to get out and pay for was the gift shop and
Hmm.
to tip the valet when we left.
And if you drink alcohol, I believe
Yeah,
alcohol is not
sorry.
included.
And
Yeah,
there's also a specialty drink that's non-alcoholic there's a charge for, but
gotcha.
unlimited sodas, unlimited blue and green milk.
Hmm.
So
Sparkling water, which was
yeah,
very exciting
there's
for me.
yeah, that's interesting. In the lobby, there's a place where you can grab a cup and have you can have room temperature water, you can have cold water, or you can have sparkling water.
Mm.
Wow. Are they letting you use your refillable water cup or you have
I
to use
think they are. I know. And when you in your room, there's a carafe, and it says to take that up there and fill it back up
very cool.
when you need to.
I mean, I think that's important because water is so expensive when you're in the park. So to have that there, that definitely adds on something.
And we had bottles of the water that they give you in Galaxy's Edge. We had a couple in our room when we checked in. I don't know if that
Mm.
was because we were media or not, but
Hmm.
those are available as well.
Yeah. So part of the dining experience is the live entertainment. I know at least one of the nights is kind of like a dinner show. So let's start with that in talking about the live entertainment. This year on screen is Gaia, who is a new character created for the show, and she's kind of the star of the dinner theater, correct?
Yeah, there's she's a Twi'lek, if you know what that is. So she has the head tails.
Mhm.
And there's you could get 2 nights of dinner because you're there 2 nights. The only one night is really a show, and
Mhm.
that's the first night, and that's where she sings. And she sang about 6 songs. Of
Okay.
course, not any songs you would know.
Has
But
Disney told us who wrote that material?
not that I know of.
I'm
I would
curious.
expect there'll be an album on
You
Apple
would
Music at
think.
some point.
You'd think there'd be able to you'd be able to buy that in the gift shop or on Shop
And
Disney.
she's accompanied by another character, Uwani, who's kind of a there's if you're watching the video version, that's her. If you know Greedo from the original movies, she's that species, and
And
she plays the music for Gaia. Gaia, whoever the actual actress is an excellent singer.
Mhm.
And the I went to the media preview earlier in the week, and they had another one later in the week, and it was a different person. And
Mm.
she, from what I hear, she was also an excellent singer. So
Yep.
you're going to get some good singing in during the dinner.
Uh,
And then
I,
there's other things that happen in dinner too that further the story along.
uh-huh. And there's also another musician character who's got kind of
Yeah,
a
and he
space guitar.
yeah, and I've seen 2 versions of him. So
Mhm.
this one, and then one of the other media people got one that was a Twi'lek, or no, it was not a Twi'lek. It was the species that Ashley Eckstein's character plays, Ahsoka.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I don't know if they're
Interesting.
working on the costumes for the characters, and we didn't get it fully, but I think that one will be an alien, more alien than he is there. He's just got a red face.
Yeah, maybe his headpiece wasn't
Yeah.
ready quite
And
yet.
he is actually in the story, he's a passenger on your ship.
Mhm.
And he loves Gaia, and he come on the ship because he loves her and he wants to hear her perform. And she calls him out of the audience to come up and play with her.
Mhm. So you get to see a show during one of the dinners, and I assume there are other opportunities for that kind of entertainment. Is there like a band that plays in the bar or anything like that?
No, there's
No.
she plays one other time during the cruise in the Atrium.
Uh-huh.
And she also has like an autograph session in the Atrium where she'll stamp her autograph on things.
Okay.
And she'll be walking around each evening as well, so you can just get some selfies with her, or talk to her. And part of the game is not only using the Datapad to talk to the characters, but talking to them in person, and they'll
Mhm.
give you hints about what they're up to, or you'll find out, oh, I didn't realize that she's kind of in love with this other guy, and
Ah.
things like that. And I didn't talk to certain characters, and I've heard that if I would have found out something else about something that, you there's multiple storylines going on, and you won't be able to see them all or find out about them all.
Okay. So in addition to the live entertainment, there are some major activities that you can participate in. And I think the one that a lot of people are most excited about is the lightsaber training. So talk to us a little bit about the lightsaber experience. First of all, how many times do you get to do it? Is it just once? How long does it last? How many people are in there with you?
When we did it, there was about, let's see, about 15 to 20 people in there doing it, and there's a spot for you to stand, every person to stand and take your turn, and whoever's the front of the line moves to the back, and then you move up. And so it's the actual activity is not that exciting for me, at least. It was,
Mm.
you hold a lightsaber up, and when a light beam comes out, you hold it up against the light beam, and then you move,
Mhm.
and then you move again, and it gets faster and faster, and other things happen. But what made the experience fun was the cast, the crew members, or the Jedi trainer that is in there with you. She was really intense,
Well,
and she
I
was
was going to say, you guys got to go to our YouTube and watch this video of the lightsaber training. Trying to find this character
right there.
right here. She is committed to the role.
Yeah.
Like she 100%. Almost a little un like I can imagine being a little uncomfortable if you're someone who's not into interactive role playing stuff and is not used to have something like someone almost crying 2 inches from your face because they're so emotional about the force. That's she props to this actress because that was hardcore. I believed her 100%.
Yeah, yeah, that's what for me that made the experience. But
Hmm.
for a friend of mine, um, um, she was uncomfortable. She didn't like it. She was
Mm,
like, couldn't wait to get out of there because of it. So it just
wow.
depends on how you are with that sort of thing. It isn't like she's putting you on the spot or anything. It's just
Hmm.
she's gazing in your eyes and Matt, hand on your shoulder. You
Yeah.
can do this. I believe in you. The force is strong in you. It's, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think right there you have the key to what makes this different from every other theme park experience that's out there. And uh the idea that you're not just a guest wandering around in your own little bubble sitting through passive rides, and half the time, just texting on your phone or taking pictures. This is something that's reaching out and grabbing you by the shoulders and saying, you have to pay attention. You have to participate. You are part of this. And I'm not sure everyone's 100% ready for that.
Yeah, and
Um,
like I said, if you wanted to just skip the whole lightsaber training, you don't have to go. And
yeah.
you'd also ask how many times you get to do it. So you do it a number of times over and over, faster and faster in that session. But
Yeah.
then, depending on which plot line you're following, which characters you're helping out in the crew, you may get to go back in there the next day.
Mm.
I didn't get to go back in. Theron did, and he got to see a really cool not animatronic, holographic character that only like 30 people on the whole cruise got to see.
We have that as something that we are going to come to, but since you brought it up now, let's jump into that Yoda moment because not everyone gets to see that. It's a really cool piece of technology. Carly, did you get a chance to see that video with the
I
Yoda
did.
holocron?
It was incredible, and like you said, not a lot of people even saw it. I don't know anyone that saw it except for him. So that it's incredible, and I wonder if people felt a little like they missed out. You know?
Yeah, and I think I worry that somebody's like, "Oh, my cruise is coming up. I got to make sure I see that." And
Yeah.
it's like, what they'll ask me, "What did you do to be able to see that?" Or Theron, and I couldn't tell you. There's so many choices you make during the cruise that I don't know which answer led to being in there.
Hmm.
You could hang outside the door and try to get in. The other thing is, this was on the final evening, and we're told that there's like 4 or 5 different mini endings before the main ending that everybody sees, the
Hmm.
lightsaber battle. And there's 2 dinner times. So our dinner was at 5:30, somebody else's at 8. And this happened while people were at dinner. So
Hmm.
those people, I don't know if Yoda appeared another time and we didn't hear about it, but as far as I know, you could be at dinner and not even see that. So I don't know how they get around that, other than it's just the luck of the draw or whatever.
Yeah, well, the technology of this is pretty cool. If you watch our video, which was shot with a low light camera, you'll be able to figure out how it's done. From what I hear, you see it with your naked eye, and it's really hard to see the mechanism that makes this work. And it's really the closest thing we've seen to one of those real Star Wars holograms. But you bring up an important point. If you're spending this much money on a trip, there's some serious FOMO if only a small percentage of people get to see some of these really special moments. And I guess the goal is that each person will get to experience one or two of their own special, unique moments. And then you get back together with your friends or your family and you share your different experiences. But it's really hard when this is a once in a lifetime experience for most people. I don't think many people are going to do this and say, all right, I'm coming back next year and going to do the same thing just to see the little percentage that I missed the first time. So I can imagine being really anxious about, I want to see Yoda. what happens if I miss Yoda? You
Yeah,
know?
and we heard Yoda in our lightsaber training that
Hmm.
everybody does, but we didn't see him. And I would imagine maybe if something became really popular, maybe Disney would be like, "Oh, this needs to be part of the main show, and we need to
Hmm.
make sure everybody sees this."
Yeah.
But there was something I got to see that some other people didn't get to see.
Oh yeah.
One of the storylines had us go the main first officer order. We were kind of playing both sides and helping him and helping the Jedi.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Meet me at 8:30 in the bridge." And when we got to the bridge, there's a lady with names on the list, and if your name wasn't on the list, you couldn't come in. I assume our names are on the list because we played along in that part of the game. And that's where we first saw that Kylo Ren was coming to the ship. It was on a video screen. He popped up and said, "I'm
Oh.
coming to visit you." So everybody else didn't know Kylo Ren was coming.
Oh,
If
so
they
you
didn't
were
have
kind of ahead of
spoilers.
the
Yeah.
curve there.
And
That's
then there
cool.
was another thing that I missed is we didn't talk about the climate control. No, what is it? The climate simulator room. But
Yes.
there's an activity that happens out there that I didn't get to see, and nobody in my party got to see.
Yeah, well, let's just mention this really briefly. The climate simulator, if you are worried about the idea of being trapped indoors in a hotel for, 2 days straight, there is a quote unquote climate simulator. That, I guess it's sort of like the holodeck on Star Wars, where you're supposed to really still be in. Sorry, Star
Star
Trek. Oh
Trek,
my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to edit this episode to take that out because that's unforgivable. Captain Picard would never forgive me. So yes, it's sort of like a holodeck in the other franchise, and so you can see the sky and you can feel the Florida humidity. The one thing you cannot do out there is smoke or vape. My understanding is you're going to have to break theme and go completely outside the hotel if you want to do
Yeah,
that.
you have to go back to Earth if you want to
Yeah.
smoke,
Yeah.
or if you have a service dog, you need to relieve.
Oh, that's a long trip for the dog.
Well,
Boy.
it's not a long trip really, but yeah. So there's stones on the in the middle down on the ground in the
Mm.
climate room. And at some point there's some kind of show element where a Jedi's out there and they move the stones. The stones move by themselves.
Ooh.
And I never did get to see that. But yeah, this is a place where you can come get some fresh air. So you can't see anything but the sky because the holes are only at the top. And there is part of it is undercover, so if it's raining you could still stand out there, but it's a place where you can come and just get some air if you need to. And then that was the question. My wife Jackie has stayed in an inside cabin in a cruise and got hives because she couldn't, a little bit claustrophobic. And she was fine on this trip, so she was fine in the room with the viewport, so that wasn't an issue.
Good.
And then your second day of your trip, which we haven't got to yet, but that's your day to go to Batu. So you're out of the hotel that whole, as long as you want to be, between like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. that day.
Can you
So
go
let's-
there anytime? Sorry, the open space. Can you visit like 24 hours? If you
Yeah,
want?
yeah. That climate control, climate simulator room, you can go anytime. You can actually go to your car anytime you want. You're getting yourself out of the story by going back to the lobby entrance or the transport area entrance. But you're welcome to, and you could drive to McDonald's and get yourself a hamburger if you wanted.
But that would not be cost effective.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah, the food's all included, so you wouldn't
Yeah.
need to. But yeah, they don't stop you from anything you need to do or want to do.
So let's talk about a few more of the activities. Bridge training. You mentioned briefly being on the bridge. Along with the lightsaber training, this is another one of the marquee activities. I've heard people describe it as Dave and Buster's in space. I've heard other people say that it was really cool. So what did you get to do on the bridge, and what did you think of it?
The bridge is pretty large, and it's got huge view screen up front, which is supposed to be the front of the ship you're looking at. And that screen, unlike the one in your cabin, is super detailed and high res. Looked great.
Mm.
So you go to these different stations. There's one station for weapons, one for shields. I forget what the other one are exactly, but you will go in there and somebody will lead you through. Okay, well, you're going to learn how to do the weapons, and then you swap with another station and you go
Mhm.
try. So you get to try them all, and these things pop up on a screen, which are essentially computer icons or video game icons that you interact with and shoot at. So it's almost like you're simulating shooting at those.
Mhm.
We did bridge training on the first day. People who had bridge training on the second day or got in there because of their storyline got to shoot at actual, not actual,
Mhm.
TIE fighters that were flying by.
Well,
So
that
to
sounds
me,
more
that would
fun.
be more fun because you're actually in the story
Mhm.
and shooting at something rather than just training on some icons that are popping up for you to train on.
Mhm. In terms of the actual gameplay and the responsiveness of the controls, did you feel like did people feel like it was responsive, or did it just feel like you were just button mashing and
No, it was pretty responsive.
all right.
Some of the consoles you actually look down and control something in front of you, and some of them you
Mhm.
look up at the screen and control. But yeah, when you hit the button, you'd see it fire. You can move your character or
Right.
whatever it is across the screen easily.
I'm hoping it's at least a little step up from the end of Mission Space, the interactive thing that they had at that exit, huh?
Yeah, slightly, I
All
guess.
right, good, good, good. And there's a couple other minor activities that we have kind of glossed over, but they've gotten a lot of attention because they really remind people the kind of thing you would find on a cruise ship, specifically bingo and line dancing. So, did you get to participate in bingo or dance
I, I
lessons?
I did not choose to participate in those.
Okay.
And there's another one too. There's the newlywed game called Know Your Crewmate. Um,
These are totally the kind of things you would find on the Love Boat,
yeah.
you know.
The one explanation with those is each evening is when the actors, the main character actors that we've talked about, come onto the ship or appear in the lobby and walk around, and those activities every evening are really part of the story. So during the
Mhm.
day, say if you didn't want to go to Batu or you came back early, the activities going on the ship at those times are those type of activities, droid racing, things that
Mhm.
have nothing to do with the story, something just to have something to do.
Okay.
So you
So if
don't
you
have.
if you have been to Batu many times before, there are things to do on the ship when everyone else is on shore leave.
Yeah, things to do, but that's those types of things to do. It's
Yeah,
nothing really exciting.
gotcha.
But
But the
there are things
dance,
to
yeah,
do. Sorry.
the dance, weren't they performing it at night? And so if you didn't learn it, you were sort of left out.
No, kind of.
Okay.
I guess at dinner, Gaia got up and had a few people dancing with her, but it wasn't the whole dining room because not everybody went to the dance lesson. So
Yeah.
it was something you could do if you knew the dance and learned it.
It also
But
didn't look that hard to pick up. Like this is not
yeah,
Martha Graham, Alvin
yeah.
Ailey. uh,
But one reason you'll want to go to Batu, even if you've been there many times like us, is part of your story takes place on Batu. So your data pad will be like, we need to smuggle Chewbacca onto Batu because he was on the ship the night before.
sure.
Meet me over at Oga's and do this, or meet me, over by the droid depot, behind the droid depot, so we can do this. And it kind of furthers your mission and helps you further along in your story.
Hmm.
And then you also get lightning lane for both of the attractions in Galaxy's Edge. So
Which is very nice. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about what you get to experience in Batu. There's one last major component of the ship itself, which I am personally interested in, which is the Sublight Lounge, because
mm,
this is where you can both get an alcoholic beverage and you can play holographic Sabak. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you know that's the card game that Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon playing. What's it like in real life?
it's not a huge, but it wasn't like Oga's where everybody was trying to be in there at once.
Mhm.
So I always had a place to sit if I wanted. Now, if you wanted to play sabacc on the table, it's kind of an electronic sabacc. You had to wait a turn until somebody got up. but and the bartenders were really fun to talk to. They're, everybody's always in character, so you'll go up to the bartender. Oh, did you used to work at Oga's? And what happened? What planet are you from? That sort of thing. And the drinks that we tried were really good. And if you do know how to play Sabacc on Galaxy's Edge, they play it differently on the ship, so you have to learn different house rules. I don't know how to play it either place. I kind of know how to play it on the ship, but
it's like Pai Gow poker versus Texas Hold'em. It's
okay.
yeah.
So you didn't
I got you.
Tournament.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, for giving us the correct pronunciation. I always put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I'm not even sure I'm right, but I think it's Sabacc. But yeah, it was fun.
And did you try any of the drinks?
Tried a couple of the drinks. I had a couple at dinner, and then I've had one I think in the lounge, and I didn't see any kind of craziness happen in the bar when you order a drink, like would happen over at the Polynesian or anything.
Right.
But the drink, it was fun to watch them make them, and they are unique looking. Some of them have sparkles and different things.
I believe I saw Theron drinking something made from some space fish that was sparkly.
Yeah. There's on the end of the bar on either side are these fish in tanks and alien looking fish, and supposedly they're filtrating the water and you're drinking the water that they're filtrated by the fish, and that's what makes it sparkly. But so it's a fun story that you can find out what's the story behind your drink.
And you can visit the lounge any time that it's open. You don't have to have it scheduled.
Right. Yeah. And correct. You can go anytime. They're open till 1 or 2 a.m. each night. And like I said, during the day, the main characters aren't there. And then later at night, the main characters, after the main show, they're gone as well. So you can't further your story too much, but you can go in the bar and talk to the bartenders, like I said, or talk to any crew that's walking around the atrium and find out, they'll talk to you about their story or where you're from or your made up story.
And so that kind of brings us to the end of day one. Day one concludes with the first main event, which is the cruise director's evening toast. And give us some spoilers on what happens at this big event that ends your first day.
So each evening there's something scheduled from the main atrium that you want to make sure and go to, and it's after both parties have had their both dinner seatings have happened. So this one, like you said, was a toast, but it something happens and it doesn't end up being what it is. But for the first night, the first order shows up, first order officer, and I think 4 stormtroopers are with him. And he says that the route that you guys are taking, that is the same route that some rebel spies, resistance spies have been heard to know are taking as well. And so that reason I'm staying on your ship and I'm going to investigate this.
Ooh, that's pretty intimidating. So that kind of kicks off the plot.
Right.
And then, let's before we dig in too deep until the second day and what you get to do on Batu, you mentioned first order officer. This is Lieutenant Harmon Croy, who's kind of the major bad guy that we deal with on the ship, and he's in command of the first order stormtroopers. And he's working for Kylo Ren, who is the probably the most famous bad guy that we get to see in person during the trip, right?
Correct. Kylo's the supreme leader, so his ultimate boss. Yeah.
Right. And then as far as good guys go, we are going to get to see Rey. We are going to get to see Chewbacca. But we've also got some new characters who are led by the captain of the ship, which is Captain Ryola Keevan, and her cruise director, Lenka Mock. So I'm curious, I may know someone who's friends with this character. I'm curious if you had any interactions with the captain or any other interactions, memorable interactions with members of the crew.
I was a little intimidated by the whole thing the first night, and I didn't really talk to
Mm.
the characters too much. I got a selfie with the captain because I know a friend of the captain as
Mhm.
well, and she was that's not her there, the
No,
one that
no,
I
that
think
was
we know, but that's a different one
yeah.
from
I think
later in
this
the
was
movie.
from the one-day event that
Yeah,
Simon and Susan attended.
right, and
And so
so
there's
I
sort
got
of an A cast, and not to imply that one's better or other, but there's a one cast and then an alternate cast,
right.
because I don't think you could do two of these back to back. These
I
people are
think
working. I feel like they're working 18-hour days. I feel like
I,
she's got these yellow contact lenses in from like 7 a.m. to midnight, right?
well, like I said, they're not there during the day, so they're
Uh-huh.
really doing shifts from like 4 p.m. till 10 or 11 p.m.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but yeah, I got some selfies with some of them. I didn't talk to them too much the first night. Um, I wish I had. If I went again, I would be like talking to some of them, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe pick one or two that I want to kind of become friends with. And they were
Yeah.
really good. They were excellent. All the all the crew from the person serving your food to these main characters were really good. And these main characters, especially Lieutenant Croy, was excellent.
Well,
Um,
I gotta say, I've been watching videos from our friend Brooke, who went with
mhm.
her young boys, and the interactions between the lieutenant and her son, who's a first order fanatic, were, I think, we're going to talk later about whether it's worth the price, but those kind of memories, I think that's what's going to make people think, if anything, that it's worth the price. That the repeated interaction, the bond that developed between this performer and that little boy, that's the kind of stuff that money can't buy.
And that's one of the reasons he was so good, and not to say the others weren't as well,
Mm,
but playing a bad guy, he has to do this fine line of not insulting the guests, but being funny and
mm-hmm.
personable, and still being mean. And he did really well with her son, and they all interact well with adults as well.
Mm.
And they were excellent, especially him at remembering their names. And the second night during the final show, he would call out the different names of the people and find them in the atrium and go, Aiden over there told me that
Yeah.
this happened, and Susan over there, what didn't you tell me this, Susan? And she'll be like, yeah.
Yep.
And some people would yell out things in the audience and stuff.
Yeah. That's the real magic. Carly, if you're doing this, which character are you going to spend your most time with? Who are you going to
Chewbacca.
hang out with? Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
Chewbacca.
Hello. Yes.
But I mean, this is so largely dependent on the cast members being committed.
Mhm.
And that is, I feel like there's so much pressure on them to keep up with this. This is going to be something to see how it's going to be 6 months down the line. I'm not sure what the contracts are like, but you go see a Broadway show and it's 2 hours. These people
Right.
are turning it on for a long period of time. It's something to, commend them for. It's a lot.
Yeah, and and you mentioned two casts. I think there's probably 3 or 4 casts.
There's got to be
Yeah.
I've seen 3 of different ones of one character.
Mhm.
And that's what somebody's like. Somebody on Twitter, a friend of mine, was like, "What happens when you see a character one night and they get sick, and then the next night it's a different actor?" I was like, "I don't know. They had a facelift. Yeah."
they went the back to tank and got their
especially like
face rejuvenated.
especially like the cruise director or the mechanic.
Mhm.
Those you're seeing their exact face of that person. You're not. There's
Sure.
no prosthetic to make somebody else look like them.
Yeah.
So
And I imagine that they've got a schedule where they do a cruise and then they get a couple nights off, and
right.
they probably rotate in and out. But yeah, that's interesting how they would handle that. Well, moving on, let's talk about Batuu. The centerpiece of day 2 is your visit to Batuu. Obviously, if you've never been to Galaxy's Edge before, there's a whole lot to do there. But let's take this from the perspectives of someone like us who's visited Galaxy's Edge before, who's done the ride. So how is your Batuu experience different and unique from just your average theme park visit?
Well, first we got to talk about how do you get to Batuu.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the first step. Absolutely.
So you ride a transport to Batu. Essentially, there's a photo of it if you're looking at the video version. You get in this pod. You're facing each other, or you can stand, and you don't see anything. There's some graphics, but you hear music. You hear the captain speaking. The captain is like a RX droid, like Rex, DJ Rex, but you don't see them. And it's about a 7-minute long ride, and you get in one side, you get out the other side, and you're in Batu. And they have a special entrance in Batu over by the First Order shop and by the TIE fighter. That's where you come out at.
So here's my question with this truck, because I'm not super sensitive to motion sickness, but I know that being in an enclosed vehicle that's moving with no frame of reference can, especially if you're sitting sideways, can really mess people up. Do these lights move in synchronous with your movement, or is there any sort of visual cues that would help you, or are you just sort of sitting in a box being shaken around?
Yeah, that's essentially what you're doing, is getting in the back of a truck.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any problem with it. I didn't hear
Okay.
about anybody else getting sick. I can't remember if the lights flashed with it. I'm sure they changed a little bit. If you think you might get sick, maybe you want to stand and face towards the direction of the truck, which I guess would be your left as you walk in. But yeah, I mean, that could be a problem with some people, but it's 7 minutes. So, and that's 7 minutes, door shut to door open. So there's probably a couple of minutes before you even go. So it's probably about a 5-minute ride.
That's even longer than the Hogwarts Express in between theme parks.
So,
and so once you get into Batu, and I believe this is where your Datapad is probably going to come into play a lot. What are some of the activities? What are some of the different experiences that you had that were out of the ordinary?
well, first of all, they give you a button to wear, a pin, like a Disney pin, and it has the name of the ship on it. So all the cast members in Galaxy's Edge know to look for you, and they'll reference, oh, you're from that ship that's orbiting out there, which is kind of neat. And they know that you have lightning lane, so they let you right in there. You still have to scan your band because you do have only one chance to ride each ride. But so you'll know before you even get to Batu in your Datapad what they want you to do when you get there. So you can look over, okay, here's the 5 things or 4 things that they want me to do. And part of your reservations for the Starcruiser, you can make reservations for Ogas. So you get special access. They're not going to tell you, oh, it's full, you can't get in. You're going to get into Ogas if you want to. But you arrange it ahead of time, so you have a time. Oh, your time is 11 a.m. to go to Ogas or whatever.
But you can make a reservation directly with them. You don't have to go through the normal Ogas reservation, because it's impossible to get a reservation for Ogas as a normal person.
So we went and rode both rides. We went into Ogas. One of our missions had us mention something to our waitress in Ogas that went some kind of phrase. I can't remember what it was exactly. And when we did that, she gave us special coasters. And the coasters in Ogas are collectible. So now we got a new one.
You've got a very collectible one there.
Yeah.
And then the coaster, it had a QR code, something that interacted with the app.
Yeah, so the coaster had a QR code, and that's kind of how the app knew that you actually did the thing and got it.
Excellent.
And then we rode Rise of Resistance. It was pretty much the ride. There was nothing different about it. But when we rode Smuggler's Run, excuse me, too much talking here. When we rode Smuggler's Run, right before you get into the cockpit, there's a Hondo comes up on the screen.
A little briefing.
Yeah. So he actually said to us, oh, I see I got some passengers from that fancy ship that's orbiting around here.
Interesting.
And some people with us were not from the ship. So I don't know what they thought he was talking about. But
and I understand that it's still the coaxium mission, but do you get a little more information about what the importance of that coaxium is?
Yeah, you need to get some coaxium and bring it back to the ship. And that plays out in the second evening, why they needed that coaxium and what it's used for.
Okay.
And
I'm good because I gotten hundreds of barrels of coaxium for not by now. I hope they've done something with it all.
so we did those things and did a couple of the missions. We didn't even do all the missions, and then we headed back. You do get lunch included at Docking Bay 7, but I wanted to eat on the ship because I've eaten at Docking Bay 7 a million times.
Sure.
So we didn't get our free meal in the land and went back to the ship and ate the buffet there.
So you can. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I heard about the Docking Bay 7 is that you get no sort of expedited ordering process, and so I know someone that had to wait quite a long time to pick up a free meal. So I'm wondering if that may be something they'll tweak in the future, because if you're spending that much to go on, you're gonna want to eat your lunch when you want to eat your lunch. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That there wasn't...
we didn't do it, so we're not sure what the procedure is for it, but I would hope that maybe if that's a problem, maybe you can order what you want to eat and what time you want to pick it up, like before you get off the ship that morning or something.
So you can make your way to Batu as early as 8 a.m. and so the park is opening at 9 a.m. Early entry starts at 8:30 a.m. for hotel guests. But if you're on the Starcruiser, you're heading over there as early as 8 a.m. Right?
Well, yes and no. You can go down and get on the shuttle around 8:15.
Gotcha. So you'll get there right.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. And the last transport back is at 4 p.m. And if you miss that last shuttle, it's just like being on a cruise. You're going to have to pay for your own starship back to the Halcyon, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happens. Somebody asked what happens if we miss that last one, and they said,
you're left behind. Sorry.
Yeah. So
I don't. A lot of time, though. I mean, I know some people that probably haven't spent a lot of time there will take advantage, but I'm sure you're like, that's many hours to go.
Right. Yeah. That's. And we would rather be on the ship. Now, we wanted to go Batu, one to stretch our legs, and two just to do some of those missions. So, and Lightning Lane for Rise, you can't turn that down. But yeah, we were ready to go back, and that's one of the things when we get to talking about the price is you get a park ticket, and you can also leave Galaxy's Edge. I can go try to ride, whatever you want in the park tower.
Yeah, you can go ride Slinky Dog. Good luck.
Yeah,
you don't get any you don't get any Lightning Lane.
No, you don't. So if you don't have an annual pass, that's good for the cost of it, because you got a day's ticket. Well, 8 to 4 p.m.'s day's ticket to the park. And I guess if you wanted to stay all day and miss the activities on the ship, you could. But yeah, so we headed back.
So you head back. You had a few hours to participate in some of those minor moments, like the Yoda moment that we talked about earlier. And then we get up to the main event, the Halcyon Starcruiser celebration, otherwise the big finale after dinner on the second night. Tell us a little bit, like, what was this show like? And I'm especially curious to hear how you felt it compared to the media event for the opening of Galaxy's Edge, where they did a lightsaber battle outside that was never seen again. And to me, it feels very similar to what you get to see in this finale of the Starcruiser.
Yeah, it was similar to that, but with more special effects built in. So one of the things you get to see is the lightsaber that was everybody was talking about last year.
The real lightsaber?
The real lightsaber.
With air quotes?
Actually goes up out of the hilt when you turn it on. So that was awesome to see, but then it's flimsy, so she can't fight with it. So she had to switch to another lightsaber, and that was kind of awkwardly done. She kind of just set it down and picked up another one. Now, when I was in the moment, I guess I can't remember if I saw that or not. There's a couple of things when you're in the moment you don't catch up on until you watch a video back and you go, oh, that's how she did that. I didn't even see that, because people are all around you, things are happening around you. You may not it may not be as big of a deal when you watch it there, but
when you look at it on video, it's pretty clunky.
They could have done a better way. I had originally heard somebody had told me through the grapevine, oh, Rey's going to light that and then she's going to run behind a pillar. And
that's what I was told. That's what I was told.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Pass behind something, or yeah, it's a Texas switch. Except they forgot how. Yeah. But beyond that, you get a big showdown between Rey and Kylo. And if you are a nerd for Star Wars continuity, I guess this is canon now.
It
Even
is.
though we thought that after their after the battle on Crate, that Kylo and Rey did not see each other until their confrontation in Rise of Skywalker. Apparently, they did happen to meet up on the ship,
Yep.
which kind of changes the context of their meeting in the final film, but who cares, right?
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about it being canon and
Yeah.
how this story will probably evolve, and they'll change some things as we go on, and like which part of this is canon and which isn't. But anyway, yeah, the show was really good. It had some special effects. He force pulled her towards him.
That's a
the
great
balcony.
moment. Watch the video just for that effect. I mean, it's pretty easy to tell how it's done, but you hear the crowd go, "Ooh!"
Yeah. And then the lightsabers are bouncing off the railings and sparks are flying. And he does a thing where he's going to kill people down in the atrium underneath him. But with the
yeah, he has a little Phantom of the Opera moment. With
the
the ceiling.
That I wasn't expecting that, so that was kind of scary. I'm sure it was more scary for the people who was under it. I wasn't under it. And
one little moment that I noticed, there is a kind of cute magic trick they do with a holocron, where they kind of throw the holocron up. But what I thought was interesting, and maybe I misheard this, but it seems like that holocron might play into some of the mysterious force powers that Rey manifested in the last film that were never really referred to ever previously, because we hear Yoda say something about secret abilities, so maybe that justifies some of the stuff that Rey pulls off in the last movie,
and it's that holocron that Yoda appears out of as well.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, I didn't catch all that either, but
there's a lot of stuff going on all around the room. I've noticed every single video I've watched, at some point they're facing the wrong way because something is happening behind them or around them, and they're not sure where to watch.
I got them fighting up above in front of me, and behind me Chewbacca's back here with the stormtrooper, and they're shooting. And that was another part that I thought was kind of lame. They're shooting. I don't know how they would correct this, but they're shooting at Kylo Ren, and the stormtroopers, like Chewbacca's shooting at him with his crossbow, and there's in Star Wars something flies out of it and it goes a beam goes up there, but you don't see that, so it's just him shooting, then you see sparks on the wall where he's shot at. So that was kind of weird for me, but
I'll be honest, I have not seen it in person, just on video, but based on the video, I felt like a lot of the special effects could use a little plussing. Like they got them almost there, but they're like, now go a little further. I felt like they're adequate, but did not blow me away. I wanted bigger bursts of sparks or flames or projection effects or smoke, fog blasting out everywhere. I wanted something I wanted basically a universal 3D movie kind of thing where stuff is just coming at you from all directions.
Well, like at the end of the old Terminator show where the fog goes over the whole audience.
Something like that, where this, at least from the videos, felt like watching a theme park stunt show taking place on the railings, but not, it didn't quite hit as hard as you wanted it to.
And hopefully they'll just continue. Hopefully they'll continue to make it better. And I know the robot that you talk to in your room is considered a play test, and they're saying that you may not see that on your cruise, which I think that was awesome.
That's a shame, because I really liked the video. Chatting with this guy.
Yeah, and it was awesome talking with her, and she worked really well. So I hope they are able to keep her. But I hope that that Imagineering keeps using this hotel as their place to try things out. So I don't want them to just turn it over to ops and say, okay, we're done with it, run this show.
Absolutely. And I know they have been doing play testing with people for many weeks and months, but I feel like this is something that you've got to work for years. You've got to constantly be adjusting and updating it and see how guests are reacting and swapping in new storylines or adjusting characters' backstories. It's got to be a constant work in progress, because if they just decide, all right, we freeze it, it's good enough, that's when a show dies.
Mm.
That's when, I think what works about this is working because all of the performers are on their toes and invested and really working so hard. And if it ever becomes comfortable and rote and routine, I on a much smaller level, but I worked on Tony and Tina's Wedding, which, have you ever heard of?
Yes.
It's like a interactive dinner theater show, which is sort of like what they're trying to do here. In fact, a lot of the people who worked with me on Tony and Tina's are now working on this. But the idea is that you've got a character and you're kind of creating these relationships with the audience, but that's only 2 hours. This is doing that for 3 days. And I can tell from personal experience that when you first start a job like that, every night is really exciting and you are really invested. And after you do that for 6 months or a year or whatever, you just kind of are going through the motions. So they are going to really need to keep the cast fresh, keep the cast committed. They've got to keep finding new things to keep that energy up, because it is hard. This looks like the most exhausting, a wonderful job, but can you imagine how tired you must come home after a
Well,
solid day of making that kind of intense personal eye contact with hundreds of strangers?
and think about the captain, because they're blue,
Oh
so
my,
they got to
yeah.
sit in the
Oh my
makeup
God.
chair.
Yeah, exactly. She's in hours before everyone else. God, those contact lenses alone. All right, so let's bring this whole thing down to earth. Talk to me about that final journey back to where you began.
Sad.
And yeah,
As,
there's
as
a we said there's that great video of Ashley pushing the elevator button. Go check that out.
Yeah, as much as we kind of talk bad about the main show, it was still an awesome show. and
Mhm, mhm.
and what makes the whole cruise isn't just that show or just the show the night before. It's all the interactions, actions that we talked about, and with all the crew on the ship. So that's really what made it fun. um but yeah, time to leave. There's not much to do on the last day. You can get up, have breakfast. I think you have to be off the ship by like 10 a.m.
Mhm.
So they don't kick you out of the room or anything like they
It's
would
not
on
as
a
bad
cruise
as the
ship.
Disney cruise where you're like 7
Yeah,
a.m. Get out.
right. So we did have a scheduled time to leave. We ignored that, and I think you can too. I don't think they're going to be mad if you didn't get out at 9 a.m. I think they just do that for crowd
Mm.
control.
You had a little
Um,
time to shop. We didn't really talk much about merchandise.
yeah, the shop.
Did you pick up anything on your way out?
Yeah, well, let's see, where'd it go? Here it is. I bought a model of the ship here.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
nice, nice, nice.
I bought a couple of T-shirts. They have an exclusive lightsaber
Mhm.
that you can only get now. The shop is completely in character, because everything you buy there will have like the name of the cruise line or the name of the ship on it. So it's like a gift shop you would find on a cruise, spaceship cruise. Theron's in our chat. He just said the ship model is only $15. So yeah, it's not too bad prices. I think the lightsabers are even cheaper than some of the lightsabers in Galaxy's Edge.
Nice.
But and then you can buy clothing that fits into your character as well.
And I
But
believe I heard that if you don't buy it during your cruise, you can go to shopdisney.com and get some of the exclusive stuff afterwards. Is that true?
No, yes and no.
Uh-huh.
Right now you can buy clothing ahead of time if you want to have it ready for your trip. You can't buy anything after yet, but
No, okay.
they said they want to eventually have that. Otherwise, this
Hmm.
stuff is exclusive, so you can't
Okay.
buy any of this unless you go on the trip,
Okay.
or scheduled to go on the trip.
So you better budget for that,
Now,
because you're gonna want some souvenirs.
when you
All right,
leave,
so
when you
yeah,
leave
so
and you get out of your launch pod at the valet, there's another really small shop that has
mhm,
things that wouldn't have fit the story, that say, like this shirt I bought there.
stuff
So
that
it says
actually says Star
On
Wars.
it, which
Gotcha.
wouldn't fit in because people on the ship don't know what Star Wars is. And so you have breakfast, you go down, you do a little shopping, you get your car. You set your luggage out like you would on a cruise if you need help with it. But you have till 9 a.m. to set it out. And I think that's what time it was, 8 or I think it was 9 a.m. And then you leave.
And you got to remember that the valet does not accept Republic credits, so you're going to have to bring some cash to tip.
You can
on
buy
your way out.
in the gift shop. They have Sabak credits or tips. And I don't think they'll take those either.
Or the Black Spire, those Black Spire coin gift cards. Remember that they were real hot.
Yeah, well, they have their own gift card, but it's just a card.
Oh, and Tharian wanted to mention that you even get a little goodbye package. A little,
you get a water and a cookie in your car
on your way out. Yeah. All right, so that pretty much takes us through every single question that people have, except the most important question: is it worth it? Now you've got to make clear that you guys were hosted. You did not pay for it. The trip, it was provided as a media for a media review. If you are paying out of your own pocket, is this something that you would personally do?
And that's the thing; it's subjective, and of course, it depends on how much money you have. But in my opinion, I would pay for either myself and 3 roommates who are all paying separately, which brings the price down to as low as $1,500 per person.
And this has to be a roommate that you like well enough to share a bathroom with.
Well, yeah, there's a Facebook group for people looking for roommates. So apparently some strangers are going to see how they get along on the ship. But the price for a couple is starting at all these prices are starting at, and they do go up. I have heard from a couple people. We're checked with Destination with Character Travel right now is checking and getting back to us on what like the high end of those prices would be. But the cheapest you can go for a couple, I think, is almost $5,000, like $4,800. I would do that, knowing what I know now. I would not like it. That's a little high. And then a family of 4, $6,000. I wouldn't do that. That's just, you could do so much more with $6,000.
I think it would have to depend on the ages of your kids and how obsessed they are with Star Wars. Obviously, I mean, if you are an average middle class family, this, statistically speaking, this is your vacation budget, not just for 1 year, but for maybe 4 or 5 years. So that's a big chunk of change. Tharin's opinion is that it was worth it for limited people. If you're a super Star Wars fan who wants to get lost in the story,
and I'll remind you again, Tharin was with me on the trip. He's our media manager. So.
And he says it was the immersion of Rise of the Resistance for 48 hours, and he would do this with his best friends, but probably only once more. I think this is a once in a lifetime probably kind of experience. This is not something you're going to do every year.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say is you don't really need to do it again. There are those smaller missions and different choices I can make, so it would be a different experience. But I don't think you need to do it again until they. And my hope is someday maybe they'll change the story. Maybe they can set it in, the original trilogy times. That would be awesome.
If they swap all this out and I'm there with the Mandalorian and Grogu, I'm paying. I don't care how much. If I get to hang out with Baby Yoda and watch him eat, frog eggs or whatever, I'm there.
In my opinion, based on the kids I saw and interacted, I would think you need to be 12 or older to truly appreciate it. But as you see, Theron,
our reporter Brooke, her little boy is preschool age, and he was hardcore into it. It's real serious.
So
I do think, in a way, maybe this might be, those of us who are older who grew up with the original trilogy are kind of like, where's Vader? Where's Luke? Where's the characters that, we really grew up with? But for a whole new generation now, Rey and Kylo Ren, that is Star Wars. And so, if you've got a kid who is born and raised on the sequel trilogy, they might be more emotionally connected to this than their parents are.
Yeah, I've got some friends that are younger, like Theron's age, who grew up when the original sequels came out,
The
the
prequels,
first three
yeah.
movies, the prequels,
Yep.
and so that's their Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so
Hey, it could be worse. It could be a 3-day cruise with Jar Jar Binks. Like, can you imagine?
I'm glad I didn't see any sign of Jar Jar on the ship.
I personally speaking, as someone who is not going to be able to afford to do this, whether I want to or not, if I could, I think I would probably choose to spend 7 days in a nice cabin on the Disney Wish and hang out in the hyperspace lounge, the Star Wars themed bar that's going to be on the new boat. Because that would cost me about the same or less than 2 days of this.
Yeah, we priced with our friends at Destination Character Travel, helped us price a 2-day Disney cruise, and it was about $1,000 less to do the cruise than to do this. What do you think, Carly?
I mean, everything kind of changed for me yesterday after I saw specifically your coverage, because I was dead set, I'm never doing this, but I love theater. So it seems like I'm living in theater for 2 days. And when you said, it's only $1,500 if you have roommates, which on any other trip, I don't want to have roommates. But from the aggressive schedule that I've seen, you're not sleeping.
Yeah.
It is a crash pad. So I actually started planning a trip with girlfriends last night. After
nice.
All kind of had this, wow, okay, so $1,500, we could eat all this amazing food, just be fully, like, I want to commit to doing the story though.
Yeah.
Like it's
dress
a lot,
up and
I think if you go into it with the mindset, then you'll enjoy it. And like the food looks incredible, the character interaction, as long as that level stays, because it's hard, it's riding on two things that are very fragile: technology and live actors. So, and we all know how technology can, go to the wayside quickly. Pixels on the screen are going to go out. How is Disney going to react? Keeping up with that technology. So I'm hoping
when you're paying that premium price, you don't want anything to be broken. Nothing. They can't say, "Oh yeah, come back next week." Well, there is no coming back.
There is no next week. So I think it's largely I'm going to do it. I want to do it, but I'm going to do it the most affordable way with 4 people in a room, and I think I'll get my money's worth. I mean, I have the annual, so the ticket doesn't factor in, but I think with taking advantage of everything on board, all the activities, all the food, the free water, the free sparkling water, the blue milk, I feel like if you really
better drink a lot of blue and green milk.
Yeah, well, the knives kind of think about that same way. As like, okay, a nice, and you're treated like you're in a luxury hotel. You're treated with the best care, and the way that the staff interacts with you. You're when you buy something at the gift shop, you don't get a plastic bag, you get a real reusable bag. They put your receipt in a nice folder. I mean, there's little things, but they really add up. But if you consider, okay, I'm staying in a luxury hotel, how much is a night in the Grand Floridian? It could be $1,200, and then you got your dinner. If you said consider this a really nice dinner, then it's $100 a person for dinner, and it's unlimited, and lunch could be $50 each, and breakfast buffets at Disney are sometimes $50. So when you add all that up, $1,500 is not out of the question.
Right. Absolutely. So I think yesterday was illuminating, to see everything. But I think long-term success is going to definitely ride on how well they stay engaged and invested in keeping this thing going.
Yes. And Carly mentioned a little bit back the bantha in the room, which is the aggressive schedule. We talked about all these wonderful things that you get to do, but that's all crammed into less than 3 days. It's really more like a day and a half.
Day and a half, yeah.
Did you feel overscheduled? Did you feel pressured? Did you feel like you needed some time to just have time out?
It's hard for me to judge that, because I did feel pressure because we're covering it and we wanted to get video and photos of everything. I feel like if, at the end of the first night, we were surprised at how tired we were. We're like, oh my gosh. And one of my friends went on one of the test cruises, and he's like, somebody asked me how comfortable the beds were. He's like, I didn't even notice because I was so zonked. I just laid down and fell asleep. Yeah, so we were really tired. I feel like if I hadn't been trying to cover it, I felt a little more refreshed than I was and less nervous about it. But yeah, your schedules are tight, and that's another good reason not having to worry about staying with other people. You are going to sleep in there with them, and of course if they snore or whatever, and then you got to share a bathroom with them. But you can schedule that out. I'm going to use the shower tonight, you shower tomorrow morning, and before you know it, you're out in the buffet having breakfast. So
right.
Well, we would love to know what you out there think of all of this. I know we have a few comments. Our friend Michael, as he said on Twitter yesterday, he really wants to experience it. Glass Monkey Face says that they want to do it even more after all the videos. It's like Disney dabbling into Westworld type entertainment without the killer glitches, hopefully. Yes, fingers crossed that this does not end up like Westworld. But yeah, I mean that's really where this is going, right? This is those kind of predictions that Michael Crichton made all those decades ago. It's coming true, except without Yul Brynner and murderous robots. Hopefully,
yeah, I can see this evolving and Disney coming up with a Haunted Mansion where you talk to the ghosts, or a Wizarding World where you're.
Well, that's the thing. I hope that there are folks from Universal Creative who are taking this trip and who are taking notes and who are pitching something like this to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, could be.
Because that would be a way to print money, right? We'd all be lining up for that. Okay, well, thank you. This has been a really long broadcast, but thank you for sticking with us. Also, before we go, I want to thank once again our sponsor, Destination with Character Travel. I want to remind you all, please head on over to Apple Podcasts, give us a review. Please leave us a rating on Spotify. If you want to hear more from us, where can people find us on the internet? Carly, where can they find you?
Yes, I am Carly Caramana on Twitter, and on Instagram, Adventures by Carly.
You can find me, Seth, at theunofficialguides.com, at the UG series on Twitter, and at the Unofficial Guides on Instagram. And Matt, where can they find you and Attractions Magazine?
Most importantly, Attractions Magazine's at Attractions on Twitter, at Attractions on TikTok, and at Attractions Magazine on Facebook and YouTube. If you want to follow me, at Matt Boom on Twitter, and at Attractions Matt on Instagram. And then we're Attractions on Instagram as Attractions Magazine as well.
So thank you all for staying with us for this very special bonus episode of the Attractions Podcast. We'll be back. Make sure you also catch this week's regular episode, which is episode 128. It'll be coming out a day or two after this episode posts. And until next week, I hope that you guys stay safe, try something new, but most importantly, have fun, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.